Guys, this will be kind of a finish up on it's kind of almost like a three-part series of, one, obviously we promote living benefits. We think that's a big deal. We think everybody should have them. It's a non-debatable issue whether somebody shouldn't or shouldn't have them. So you really can't get a lot of controversy off of the fact of living benefits. So having said that, remember this, guys, we make a difference in the lives of people. If there's somebody that all of a sudden has a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, and you had a chance to say something to them and you didn't, how do you feel? And then what is it we do? Well, obviously we inform them and then educate them on living benefits, tax-free retirement, and guaranteed income for life. So let's kind of talk about those three things today. The living benefits, not so much, because we've done a pretty good job of helping people understand. But let's get into the tax-free retirement. So I hope you got a notepad. I'm going to ask you to take some notes down. So when we come back, it'll refresh your memory. But let's talk today about the tax-free retirement. See if that makes a difference to somebody's life. And we're going to do that through the income calculator, and then also the guaranteed income for life. If that makes a difference for somebody, could we put them in a good position? So again, where should we put our money? We've done the analysis. Mike's going to go over this more in detail later, but we've done the analysis. We find out that, let's just say for the sake of argument, we know there's some money to play with, okay? Now, we're not going to get into this part today, but just getting that information. And we probably need to go back in a whole nother session on blocking and tackling, which is this, getting the information. If we don't get the information, it's pretty hard to do something. If you walked in the doctor's office and he said, all right, put this robe on. And you said, well, I'm not putting a robe on. You mean you want me to get naked and then put this robe on? Yeah, I need you to do that. Well, I'm not doing that, doc. Sorry. What's the doc going to say? Is he going to keep examining you? Or is he going to say, well, without doing that, I really can't give you a full examination and give you my opinion on what I think you ought to do? Well, people they're not financially sick. They're just financially unknowledge of what is out there, what is available. People don't know the difference. People don't know the difference between a 401k and a 7702. So we got to learn how to get people naked, if you will, so we can get the information. Again, tax living benefits. We know term can be great if it's for a short period of time. GUL is okay. It's good. It's better. But the best way to do it is through the indexed universal life, the best plan. And it's kind of like owning a home. And why do you own a home? Because you get equity. When the basement floods, you don't want the house. When the water heater goes out, you don't want the house. When the roof's leaking, you don't want the house. You would rather be renting at that time. But there does create equity, and at some point down the road, that's what we want. And then we want to get the tax-free income from the IUL. So we just got to find out what solution fits them best, what fits their budget. Now, three main concerns. Write these down. Fees. Fees are our main concern. In an IUL, they're a concern. In a 401k, they're a concern. In a Roth IRA, they're a concern. In any investment you do, they are a concern. Now, is it possible that they could be paid between 3 to 4.5% in fees? So write fees, 3% to 4.5%. And let's see if that's a possibility. And have that written down on a yellow pad or something so you can see this when we get into the calculator in just a bit. Our tax rate is going to be an issue. Is it possible that we could be at a 35 to 40% tax bracket or tax rates 15, 20, 30 years from now? Not today. That's the high bracket today. But I'm talking about a medium bracket, maybe even a semi-medium bracket in 20, 30, 40 years from now. In the Bible it says, without a vision, people perish. Well, I think that's a pretty good verse for a lot of things. Without a vision, guys, if you ended up with that high of a bracket or even higher, we might perish financially because of that. And then the third one is market risk. If we index, is it possible that maybe we could get the same rate of return and maybe even get a 1 to 2% difference return or a better return if we use indexing? So let's look at those three things and see if that makes sense. So let's go to fees. LA Times. 401k plans typically cost about 2.99% of assets annually to manage. Is 2.99 pretty close to 3? The average plan administrator charges 1.3 to 1.5. And it basically comes down and says the average fee is from 2.9 to 4.67. Do fees make a difference? I want to move this. Let's see, how do I do that? Sorry about that. I'm just trying to move this a bit. All right, now. There, I'll move it over here. Perfect. Do fees matter? Here's putting a money away, $10,000 a year at 8%. It's not the return that's important. It's the amount and the years with no fees. It's 1.2 million. With 1% fee, it's 995,000. With a 2% fee, it's 800,000, and with a 3% fee, it's 600,000. Well, if we're in that 2 to 3% fee range, that's a big cost, guys. That's not a 2% fee. It's really a 35 to 40% fee when it comes to the total of your money. Look where the IUL comes in. Doing the 35-year-old IUL preferred, it's almost what? Less than 1% fee? Because if it was 1, that value would be down here. So it's about a 75 basis points. It's still a fee. It's just not as high. Now taxes, where are we going to go? Well, everybody thinks taxes are high. You know why they're high? Because you pay for them. So are gas prices. They're high when you pay for them. They're maybe the lowest they've been in a while, but we still think they're high because when you fill up your tank and it's $30, $40, you go, ugh, I wish prices would go down. But taxes, where do we think they're going? They've been higher. They've been lower. Our debt's back up again to almost where it used to be. So what do you think taxes have to do? Probably go up. We've been higher. Now they're lower. And look at this, sustainability. And Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security, guys, is 49% of the budget. And I don't think the baby boomers are going to let you get rid of it. Because all us baby boomers still have guns. Okay, so if you look at this, total revenues, look what's happening. If we keep the same revenues, in other words, pretty much the same tax income, we're going to get further and further and further in debt. At some point, guys, it's going to have to get paid. We can kick the can down the road for a while, but at some point. So I'm not talking about today's market, today's tax rates as much as 15, 20, 35 years ago. The people that you talk to that are in their 20s, in their 30s, and their 40s, I think it's important that we educate them, not sell them, not tell them, not force them something down their throat. Just educate them a little bit on what's going on. And then what if we could get into the 0% tax bracket? So David McKnight wrote the book, says unless Social Security and Medicare go unchanged, these are the 10% bracket is going to rise to 25, 25 to 63, 35 to 88. So what if we could eliminate that by being in a 0% tax bracket at retirement? And guys, through an IUL, you can be in a 0% tax bracket. So if this happens, the 25, 63, and 88, and we have the right product over here, we don't have to worry about it. So did we protect ourselves? Again, get the experience, the power of a 0% tax bracket. Could be a huge, 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 huge deal. All right, so then what about indexing? Well, how does that work? Okay, well, indexing, you basically just do this. You take a portion of the potential growth of an index up to a cap. In some cases, no cap. So some products have caps, some have no caps even. The AIG, I don't believe, has a cap. I think one of the new Fidelity and Guarantee products doesn't have a cap. They have a participation rate. But typically, here's what happens. In a falling market, you get 0. In a growing market, you get the market up to a cap, or maybe in the instance, you may even have no cap. So what's going to happen? Why do we index? Market goes up. We might not get the whole market, but we still go up. Market goes down. Well, guess what? We go with 0. We sit out the bad years. Market goes back up. We get to reset at the low, so the market goes up. The market goes down. We sit out the bad years. Market goes up or down. Doesn't matter. We get the growth or sit it out. Now, another example. What if I dump all my money in a bubble economy? Market goes way, 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 way up, and I don't get all that growth. But what goes up will eventually come down, and when it goes down, we sit flat. So do we come out on top? Absolutely. What if it's bad timing, and I put my money in 100 grand and the market went south? Guess what? Ours doesn't. But then when the market goes up, we get to go up. So guys, it's called crash proof your money. It's win-win either way. Again, the market the last few years, it's been up and down, up and down, up and down. With indexing, it's always up or sideways, up or sideways. And we know the difference in the last 19 years has been about a 3.05% difference in the last 19 years. Now, if you haven't read this book yet, I'd really recommend you do this, The Better Money Method. Let me tell you why. I thought for years, I got in this business back in the early 80s, and I remember in the 90s, and for some of you that were not in this business in the 90s, you have no idea what I'm talking about, so that's why you need to go read the book. Okay, but in the 90s, and Al can attest to this, here's the worst phone call we got. You know, you sold me that mutual fund, and I got 20% on it last year. Why did you sell me that one? Well, aren't you happy with that fund? No, I'm not. Why not? Well, my brother-in-law got a fund that got 30%. Why didn't you sell me that fund? Double-digit returns in the 90s was common. It was the norm. And people weren't complaining about the fact that they lost any money. They were complaining about the fact that, why didn't you sell them a fund that got them a higher return? That was the 90s. How did that happen? How did that happen? Well, are we going to have a bull market anytime soon? This is from part of this book. The Divide Pension Retirement Plan of the 50s and 60s and 70s is replaced by the 401k plan. Okay? If you get to send a defined amount of money to Wall Street, but there's no guarantee your rate of return and many costs are hidden. In fact, Wall Street is not required to disclose its management fees. Isn't that interesting? They don't even have to tell you what fees they're charging. The period between 1980 and 2000 produced the longest bull market in U.S. history, which is called the ERISA bull market. So if you're going to go back and you're going to say, well, in the 80s and 90s, it would have been a lot better to be in the market. Yes, it would have. But the question is, are the 80s and 90s coming back? You know, used to people had a horse and a buggy, and they had a whip to whip the horse to get him to go. Okay, when they got rid of the horses, who else lost business? The buggy whip salesperson. Is the buggy whip coming back? Probably not. The source of new dollars produced impressive demands for stocks, and since their supply was limited, their price kept going up. Remember 1999? You'd buy Qualcomm for $200 a share, and a week later it was at $300 a share. It was crazy. However, the boom was unsustainable, and an artificial base devoid of sound fundamentals, investment principles fueled the market drop 2001 to 2003. So my point is, guys, get the book, find the page that this is on, highlight it, carry it around with you, because if somebody says, hey, I think I'm going to get double-digit returns on my 401k going forward, because that's what I got in the 80s and 90s, or that's what my dad got. You get to send a defined amount of money to Wall Street, but there's no, okay, sorry about that. Now, more and more financial writers today are saying that the boom of the 80s and 90s is an aberration. In other words, probably shouldn't have happened. Okay, and it talks about it ran out of gas, and I do not see any new baby boom generation on the horizon that will create another feeding frenzy like the last one. Okay? Now, here's the market starting back in 1953, I believe this is. 1950, excuse me. See how close it was? See how the market just went crazy up in here in the 80s and 90s? But ever since 2000, in those periods of time, look at the volatility of the market. So when we compare this, it's about a 1% difference. That's assuming all those 80s and 90s, which had so many, many, many good years. All right. So we've made this comparison, 401k to the IUL. We know the IUL has more money. Two questions have been asked, and I want to explain these to you. One, why do you use 25,921? And why do you use 5%? Okay. If you left your money in the market, which is what we're going to show you today, then the 5% rule probably wouldn't apply. You probably need to go down to 3 or 4% if you're going to stay in the market. However, the reason that I use the 5% is this. We can actually take that money, put it in an indexed annuity, and get a guaranteed 5% withdrawal, give or take a point, half a point, a quarter of a point, here or there, for life. For life. Now you say, well, Brent, if I'm talking to a 35-year-old, why is that important? Why are you doing this? Because it gives you an opportunity to sit and talk with this and say, now, this is what, we don't know what's going to be available to you when you retire. But what about your parents? Are they in the position of retiring soon? Well, yeah, my dad's actually going to retire next year. Does he have a plan for having a guaranteed for life income on his retirement account? Well, I don't know. You think he'd like to know how to get a guaranteed income retirement account? You probably would, right, guys? So now you can use that, okay? And that's how I explain that, and that's why I use the 5%. Brent, where do you get the 8% over here? All you simply do is go to the illustration. The illustration, and this says it's going to take, we're going to get 44,800. Divide that by the amount of money at the time of the income, and that's where the 8% comes from. So in case you're wondering why I use 8, that's what's there. Okay? Now, remember we've gone through here. And by the way, here's my guaranteed income for life. Pretty close to this. And by the way, this can be, a husband can have a 401k and a wife can be added on to it. Make this an IRA. The wife can be added on. And so if he dies, she still gets the income for as long as they're alive. Till the second spouse dies, guaranteed for life. Remember our 3 things? Living benefits, tax-free income, guaranteed income for life. And in addition, there's a nursing home benefit. If either one goes in a nursing home, there's $40,000 a year that'll go towards them until they run out of money. At this point, they would run out of money. It would go back to the guaranteed $26,000. Now, am I selling Fidelity? No. You can probably get this from numerous different annuities. I'm just showing you an example of how that can be done, and we need to talk more about that. All right, so there's our illustration, our 44,000, our premium outlay. Where's our income coming in? All that stuff. We've gone through this. Now, how do you get the answer to the pot, Brent? How do you get that answer? How do you get this pot answer of 518? Where does that come from? Okay. A couple things you can do. Go get the Sharp Business Financial Calculator, the EL733A. We've had those for years. And that will calculate out, okay? And you got to do the present value, the future value, the interest rate, the years. And so I have usually two of them laying around. Or you can go to MoneyChimp and get this compound interest calculator. And guess what? It'll do the exact same thing. Punch in current principal, punch in the amount, years to grow. What's my interest rate going to be? Why am I using 5.66? Oh, hang on, let me do this one. Why am I doing 5.66? Because I've got the rate of return minus the fee. Here I have the rate of return, fees and costs included. Okay? So get the same, isn't that crazy? Same number you get out of the calculator. So just go to www.moneychimp calculator, and it's right there in front of you. Now, but some people are going to say, you know what? I got a brother, and he did an IRA, and I did, or I mean, my brother did the IUL. And how much money does the IUL give him? So write this number down. The IUL gives him $44,896 a year. And the brother says, that's what I want. So let's say brother A has the IRA over here, the 518, not the Roth. We'll show the Roth in a second, but whether it's a Roth or not, but he's got 518,000. So make sure you write down 518,000 on your yellow pad. Okay? So we're going to go to Freedom Builder info. And I'm going to get out of here for a second. Now I think I got to change screens, right, Mike? If I do this?
Yeah, you'll have to do a new share.
Okay. Who's having breakfast?
Yeah, somebody's got a lot of noise going on in the background. So if you could just please mute your phone. If you're on the phone, or there's a little mute button on your computer. I'm sure we'd all appreciate it.
All right, so I'm going to go back here. We're going to go to Freedom Builder. Thank you, sir. Team login. Put in the word Freedom, all lowercase. Are you seeing it, Mike, or do I need to redo it?
Yeah, do a new share, Brent.
Okay, so stop share.
Yep, new share.
Share screen. And share screen. Okay, so we're in the Freedom Builder, correct?
Yes, sir.
Go to your toolbox. Everybody needs a toolbox. Here's the 401k killer. It automatically downloaded into an Excel on your left-hand side. It should open up. There we go. All right. All right, so you see the directions and all that stuff? Does that show? Are you seeing that, Mike?
You got to do a new share.
I thought I did, but let's try it again. Share screen. Oh, because it went to Excel. There we go.
Perfect.
All right, and the price is right on this calculator, guys. It's free. All right, so how much was I putting into my IRA? I was putting in $416.67. I put 666 to make sure that I get to the 5,000. Okay, I've got nothing in there. I'm going to get 7.16 on my rate of return, and I'm going to use a 1.5% fee. Isn't that typical of what we've done? Okay, I'm 35. I'm going to go to 70. Okay, now in this example, for some reason, let me get this out of here. Come back to it. Okay, I get 534,000 off the calculator. Don't know, somebody programmed it, whether they programmed it a year different or something, but the real answer should be 518,000. Okay, but it's pretty close. It's close enough, all right? So remember, he says, I got an IRA. Should I do an IRA or an IUL? Well, let's compare the numbers. So here's your IRA. Okay. Are we high on the fees? We're using the same return. Now, we're going to get to retirement. There's my amount. Tax bracket. Is there any problem using 35? Not today, but for tomorrow. 20 years, 30 years down the road. Any problem with that? Don't see any. Here's my return. Here's my fee. Here's my retirement age. There's my money. But I got to pull out 52,000. But I got to put the IUL income. Remember that? Now, what was my IUL income? 44,896. Because that was my IUL income. How much taxes do I pay on the IUL income? 0. Well, guess what? I got to pull out 69,000. I'm still getting 33,000 growth on my 534, but am I getting enough growth to maintain the balance? And the answer is no. So right now, brother A's got the IUL with 44,000 a year. Brother B runs out of money at age 81. Now, I don't know how you guys are, but when I have people come in my office or I meet with that are in their 60s, they are not afraid of dying. Never met anybody that's scared of dying. They're scared of living. And they're scared of living a long, healthy life, which in turn makes them scared of running out of money. That's why we do guaranteed income for life. Guys, that's a big deal to baby boomers. Guaranteed income for life. Okay, but Brent, I got that Roth IRA, remember? So I don't have to pay taxes. That's right, you don't on the Roth. I wonder how that works. Still run out of money at age 90. Oh, but Brent, I got this 401k and I get a 50% match. That ought to help, right? Oops, sorry. I get a 50% match. So I get an extra $400. But you got to pay taxes. Now you run out of money at 89. Now, I don't know how many people today might think that are in their 60s and 70s live past 90, but we're talking about the 35, the 40-year-old. I think a lot of those people, I don't think they ever think they're going to die. Okay, so right now, is the IUL a better plan? Sure is, because we get that for how long? Does anybody know? We get it for life, guys. Now, what if guy gets a 100% match? When's he run out of money? In this example, he doesn't run out of money. That's because he got a 100% match on his plan. He doesn't run out of money. Now, does he have a death benefit early on in start to save? No. Does he have a living benefit, a lump sum living benefit? No. It's just his account value. How about in 20 years when he's 50 and he wants to take money from his 401k to cover living benefits? How much of that's taxable? All of it. So really, if he takes out $200,000 from his 401k, he's going to have to pay taxes on half of it, probably, or on all of it. So he's probably going to spend $30,000, $40,000 on taxes. So the IUL is still a better plan. However, what could change? Well, let's go back here. Could maybe the fee be 2%? Okay, 0.5% didn't make a huge difference. Is it possible we could get a 1% less return? Did we show that? Did we show we possibly could get a 3% fee? Ooh, now he's out of money. So if we can, why not control the fee? Why not have a better control on the rate of return? And is it possible he could be in a 40% tax bracket instead of a 35? Now, even with a 100% match, he's out of money at age 81. So guys, this calculator is free. I think it's a great thing. You can play with it for somebody, that just doesn't quite understand this running out of money. There's a couple questions I think you can ask somebody. One, you have a 401k? Yes, I do. Great. How much income is it going to provide? What's your balance going to be when you retire? Let's just say you retire at age 70. What do you think your balance will be? No idea. And let's say you start taking an income and pay taxes and all that kind of stuff. How long before you run out of money? Don't know. Well, would you like to know the answer to those questions? Yeah, I kind of would. Here's a calculator that you could show him. So you can come back and say, well, if you put in 416 You said they match you 50%. All right. And I'm just going to use this rate of return because you're going to compare it. And I'm going to use the fee. All right. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to start taking income and I'm going to show an example. And then you just need to run an IUL illustration somewhere on this guy's age. But you could use, if you were 35, we have a product that would get you $44,000 a year. All right. In this example, you will run out of money at age 89. Is that something you're comfortable with? And you might say no. So when you're talking to this with 35-year-olds or 40-year-olds, what does this come back to? Let's get back to finding their parents and getting them into an index product as well, not an indexed life as much, but an indexed annuity that does have living benefits because of the doubling of the income, and it also gets guaranteed income for life. So Al and Mike, that's what I got for today. I appreciate your guys' time, and I'm going to turn it back over to you guys.
Okay. Hey, Brent, great job. And Mike's going to take over here in a minute. But let me ask you a question. In your experience, how many people are you running across today that have 100% match?
Every once in a while. Not a lot, but once in a while.
Right.
Sometimes, well, if I put in 6%, they'll give me 4%. So that's probably what, a 60% match, or depends on how the company does it.
Right.
The other thing you got to find out too on 401ks is, okay, well, how much can you put in to get a match? So they say, well, I can put up to 6 and I get 4. Well, what if you put in 10%? Well, then I still get the 4.
Right.
Okay. So if they have to put 6 to get 4, that extra 4%, the 10%, that's a good 4%. As Mike's going through the calculation here, that's a 4% to me. Is a no-brainer because there's no match on that other 4. So that's easily money for an IUL.
Right.
Because it's a paradigm shift on the free money.
Right. And I think, too, as you pointed out, when you look at the fees, the average fees, they say at 2.99. You were very conservative in your approach, saying 1.5. But I think when you play around with that calculator and you put it up to 2, 2.5, or even if you go to 3, I mean, it takes a big chunk out of that money.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
The fees will kill it. The fees will kill it. And we know the fees inside our IUL are going to be 1% or less.
Correct. So, hey, that's a great presentation on how to use that, how to, some of that can be your homework, but then of course when you're sitting in front of the client, so that's really, a continuation of the IUL. It's like why you want to use it in comparison to an IUL. In comparison to a 401k, once you've gathered the information, which is what Mike is going to go through now, once you gather the information, well, now you know what to present. So it all comes down to asking the right questions, right? The simple needs analysis puts us in a position to ask the right questions. It's not just fill out the form, it's ask the questions so that you can get that information. So,
absolutely.
Mike,
I just want to throw this out, last thing. 2 weeks ago, I didn't know that calculator existed.
There you go.
So what does that tell you, guys? Hey, you got to get in there. These guys have put a great back office for us together. You got to get in there and you got to play around. And somebody mentioned it to me. Bob Tito mentioned it to me. He said, Coach, have you played with that 401k killer calculator? I go, where's that at? Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that we forget that we had. And so I just started playing with it. I said, man, this is pretty powerful to the guy that thinks, the 401k is really the way to go and I'll never run out of money. Because when you start showing about they could run out of money, then all of a sudden their attention span changes a little bit.
Yeah, there's no question. And here's the thing. When somebody looks at that, why do we have the statistics we have today? Well, clearly nobody reaches age 70 and says, okay, look at that. 8 years later, boy, I got no money. I'm broke. No, what they do is they reduce the amount because they say, look, I don't have as much as I thought I would have. So now I become a statistic, right? I'm one of those people that are retired on whatever, $15,000 to $20,000 a year. plus a Social Security because I don't have enough money in my account because nobody educated me early as to what I'm going to need or what I should have. So pretty powerful stuff.